Hi, my name is Dan Gillison. I'm the CEO of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Today I am with Dr. Ken Duckworth, our Chief Medical Officer. And Ken is the author of NAMI's first ever book, You Are Not Alone. We're going to talk to Ken about the book. We're going to start out by learning a little bit more about Ken's background and what brought him to psychiatry. Ken, good to be with you.
Thanks, Dan. You know I'm a longtime lover of NAMI, and NAMI's really been my second family. When I was 8 years old, I was in the basement. My father was screaming upstairs and pulled away by the police. This was my first exposure to a serious psychiatric illness. Not long after, we're in a U-Haul driving to Michigan in a snowstorm, and my family couldn't discuss it because of the shame and secrecy that surrounds mental health conditions. I wondered, what is this thing that is so strong that can move a family 300 miles and you still can't talk about it? Yeah. The answer is a mental health condition. Nobody in my family was ever a doctor. I wasn't particularly interested in medicine. I just squeaked by organic chemistry. I became a psychiatrist to help my dad. I became a psychiatrist to learn everything I could about all the things no one could talk about. What's a practical guide? Is there anyone like me who's been through this? Are there other people that are doing better than my dad? So I've organized my entire career around looking at every perspective from every possible angle. So as you know, I've been part-time for NAMI, and I've either been a person who can't keep a job, or I've done every job a psychiatrist can do. So I trained in child psychiatry, I worked at a school, I did a private practice, I ran a community mental health center, I worked with the homeless population of Boston, I became the chief doctor for the Department of Mental Health in Massachusetts, became the commissioner of mental health. On my first day, they tried to close the Department of Mental Health. Those jobs are really hard. I worked on a dual diagnosis, assertive community treatment team. I worked at a community agency watching the slow motion tragedy of closures of state hospitals and trying to figure out how could really vulnerable people live in the community. I even took a job at a health plan to try to understand if you got rid of copays and paperwork and hassle, could you improve access? Yeah. The whole time I've been with the National Alliance on Mental Illness. That's my dream job. And I've done all the other jobs to learn things. And so the last gig that I've done is write NAMI's book. And that's what I've been doing with the rest of my time.
It sounds like from the first job to this job, it's been a whole ecosystem and all of these touch points in terms of the community. What gave you the vision, or when did you first have the vision for this book? And why did you write the book?
I took my wife Kelly to Northville State Hospital, where in 1979 I was in my car in tears, feeling alone. Little did I know that 284 people were gathering in Madison, Wisconsin to start NAMI, and I didn't know anything about NAMI or how I would be connected. Northville, like every other state hospital that most people know about, has been closed. And I took Kelly there, and I was overgrown, weeds, windows are broken. There's a guy in a little Pacer, AMC Pacer. He's a security guy, and he pulls up and he says, "Are you two okay?" And I'm kind of teary. I'm thinking about my dad and the many visits I spent there. Kelly said to the security guard, "We need a minute. We had family here." And Kelly said the word "we." Not only was it the greatest thing anyone's ever said to me in my life, I realized that the feeling of not being alone was the transformational moment that I could have with her. I thought about, could I write a book? I certainly knew NAMI needed a book.
Yes.
I then was at my brother's funeral and the family gravesite, and the man who was attending it said, "Oh, Ken, you'll be right there between my brother and my sister, which is where I belong." And I said to Kelly as we're driving back to Boston, there's a story in my family. My dad was a wonderful, loving, charismatic man, the kind anybody would want, who was probably hospitalized 25 times with psychotic illnesses. And I thought, I think I learned something in becoming a psychiatrist, and more importantly, I've met incredible people at NAMI. NAMI's the most amazing organization. I always felt it needed a book. And so here it is. It came to pass.
So as you said that you always felt like NAMI needed a book, what do you hope people will get from this book, and what's unique about this book?
So I've been looking for a practical book that helps people. Yeah. Every 5 years I'd go to my local bookstore. Yeah. I'd go on Amazon, and I couldn't find the book. There'd be very academic books, yes. Not interested in that. There'd be memoirs, not against a memoir. but it wasn't practical advice.
Yes.
What do you do when your family member doesn't see that they're ill and the insurance company won't pay for your care and you have a dual diagnosis and the trauma therapist doesn't understand what you need in terms of peer support? This is the real world that we live in. You can't find a therapist. You can't find anybody to take care of you. What is NAMI's role in your experience of recovery? What is family to family or peer to peer or NAMI connections? Any support groups, how do they make a difference for people? And this is the book I wanted to write. So the beauty of it is the NAMI community is the book. I used 130 people across America, 38 different states, who use their name. They don't want people to feel the shame that I did. They want to say, my name is Tom Allen, I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, I'm living with bipolar disorder, I'm doing well. Here's what I learned. Here's what made a difference in my own life, my own family. I wanted to learn from Tom Allen when my dad was sick. And Jordan Miller at the NAMI staff and a few thousand hours of love, and we've tried to capture the voice and experience of people in the NAMI community. So it's been a great adventure, a great experience. I'll be traveling all across NAMI's conventions and across America this fall, and I'm very honored to be the author of the book. I mean, I feel like I'm channeling NAMI's mission through my little experience.
It's such a wonderful gift that you're giving to us, and we so very much appreciate it at NAMI. In terms of the practical experience of someone that's a family that has a loved one that's been diagnosed with an illness, what's in the book to help them?
Yes. So there's 5 chapters on families.
Yes.
How do families communicate better than my own family did is one. So it's interviews with people who figured out how to talk about it or how to solve problems in a proactive, honest way that's gentle but real. There's a chapter on the hardest family questions. What is it like for you if you don't actually think your family member will ever improve? That's a real problem. Our treatments are imperfect. In every research study ever done, there's always a group of people who didn't respond to treatment.
Yes.
Those are real people. People love them. So I interviewed a man from Connecticut who said, I teach family to family, not because it makes my daughter better, because it makes me better for her. I want her life to have meaning. I don't want her to be a statistic. That kind of quote is the essence of the book.
Yes.
Listening to people, Jordan and I did 150 hours of interviews, thousands of pages of transcripts. We checked with people, is this quote okay? Some of them are quite vulnerable. I interviewed 8 people who lost family members who died by suicide. How did they make meaning of this ultimate catastrophe that is in the mental health space? The thing about the book is it's true. People do get better. People find the right medicine or peer support or love. People also die from mental health conditions. So this is the idea of the book. I tried to capture the whole waterfront of the experience, from trying to find a diagnosis to understanding the limits of our diagnostic framework, where the research is going. At the back of the book, and this is just cool because I'm NAMI's doc.
Yes.
I know everybody. So I took all the questions that I've been asked at the conventions over all these years, and I asked the smartest people in America to answer them. How do I use my experience to become a peer specialist? I have bipolar disorder. Do I really have to take these meds forever? Is clozapine the drug of last resort? What do I do with my family member when they clearly need help but don't want to talk about it?
Wow.
Right? What is the best treatment for obsessive compulsive disorder? I think my daughter's been traumatized. How do I approach that? What is the latest research on, for instance, psychedelics and trauma treatment? The idea would be, there's 35 questions.
Yes.
These are the questions that I've been asked, and it's America's All-Stars. So instead of what does Ken think, many people have asked me questions at the NAMI convention. I thought, okay, I'm pretty good. But why don't I ask the best person on earth this question and ask them to answer it in plain language, right? No technical stuff, not for the research literature. Talk to me like you're talking to a patient who isn't exposed to the literature, doesn't participate in a lot of research studies themselves. They're trying to help themselves or someone they love. So I had to do some editing. I'm not going to deny it because they're academicians, but you know, it's an all-star team of American psychiatry, and I'm very proud of that.
It's fantastic.
And psychology and social workers and peers.
Yes, so this is a utility to help individuals and families. It's got proof sources in it, and it's also got a real set of real-time questions and
Yes.
life experiences. Who was the oldest person you interviewed, and who was the youngest?
Eleanor Owen was 100 years old when I interviewed her. She passed away since I spoke to her. She was at the first NAMI convention.
Yes.
And I wanted to learn what her experience was at that convention and what her experience was on founding the Washington Alliance for the Mentally Ill.
Yeah.
Because a whole group of little bands were gathering together, right? Parents of adult schizophrenics in San Mateo County. There was a number of little places that were coalescing that came together in 1979. Eleanor is a singular force and was very happy to participate in the interview. The youngest person, I interviewed a young woman who was 17 years old.
Yes.
And she had a problem with suicide in her Colorado high school. She made a decision as part of her community service to testify before the Colorado legislature, both the Senate and the House, to mandate health insurance company to pay for a mental health visit as part of preventive care. It was passed unanimously and signed into law. A 17-year-old saw a problem in her own high school and created a problem-solving approach. There are many heroes in this book. Eleanor Owen is one.
Yes.
Caitlin is another.
That's fantastic. How does the audience get the book?
NAMI owns a copyright. All proceeds from all editions of this book go to NAMI. This is a love gift, straight up. The book's going to be available in independent bookstores, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com. You can also go to our website, nami.org/notalonebook. There's a QR code on the screen. This book is going to be everywhere. And on September 20th, I'll be traveling all across America. You know, I'll be coming to your local state convention with any luck, and I'm honored to do so. The 130 people that I interviewed in the book will be joining me. So there's 7 people from Texas.
Yeah.
When I'm in Austin, you'll meet a woman who created a baking company that welcomes people to deal with depression. She figured out how to manage her own depressive illness and side effects from shock treatment by creating a bakery. She's a person you'll meet in Austin, Texas. And what I found was there was amazing stories all across America. And everywhere I go on this book tour, they will be on the stage with me. The lived experience has power. My field of psychiatry has undervalued what people have learned. There's 2,000 years of lived experience in this book.
2,000 years?
You take 130 people who've averaged about 20 years living with schizophrenia, or loving somebody with bipolar disorder, or learning how DBT could change their life, or getting opiate treatment. You look at the number of years, while one of them is 17, many people are in their 20s, 30s, 60s, 70s. And what I would say is they've learned something. There's value in that. That's this book.
It is absolutely fantastic, and we can't wait for it to come out. Thank you again for gifting this to NAMI. We appreciate you. We appreciate your work, and thank you very much.
It was a great gift to me. I wanted to do this for so many years. When I pitched it to Dan, he said one thing: go. And that's how we got the book.
It's wonderful.
Thank
so
you.
good to be with you, Ken.
Thanks all of you.
Bye now.